Today I'm taking a look at the Fuelcell Rebel against the Boston 9. 9.73 miles, 8 minutes, 40 seconds per mile, 138 beats per minute on average today, taking the Boston 9 out for a run. Mostly easy miles with a couple of mile repeats at a little bit of a faster pace, and a similar run the day before. Similar route, similar amount of time out on the road. So I can compare these two tempo day shoes head to head. But before I get into my thoughts on these two shoes, I do want to go over some disclosures. The Boston 9 is a pair of shoes that I purchased with my own money, and the New Balance Fuelcell Rebel was a pair of shoes sent to me for the purpose of review by Roadrunner Sports. However, in neither event am I going to get reimbursed for the purchase price of any of these shoes, or paid to use any of these shoes, or make any of these videos. And no one's going to get a chance to preview any of my footage before you guys get a chance to see this video on YouTube. Now, with the disclosures out of the way, let's talk about the Fuelcell Rebel versus the Boston 9. Now, both of these shoes are intended to be faster day shoes. They can be used as daily trainer options, but ideally you're reaching for these on those faster days, those longer workouts with some speed thrown in. And that's where kind of how I use them today. And that's where I think they really fit the best. And I think they both can be used as half marathon up to the full marathon for racing purposes. Now, first let's take a look at the Fuelcell Rebel. This is a shoe that came out last year, but I only recently got to it this year, and I'm very glad that I was finally able to do so. New Balance uses a two-part fuel cell mixture in this shoe. And I think what we have is the majority of this white foam here is one density, and then there's another density of foam, which is this colored foam down here. My first time I ran in this shoe, I thought that maybe this was some sort of a shank, but I think it's just a little bit stiffer of a formulation of foam that's in here. And what they're trying to do is optimize the propulsiveness of the shoe when you're hitting, and it's ideally suited for mid to forefoot strikers, and that's what they're trying to target with this shoe. It's a 6mm heel drop shoe coming in at a very lightweight 7.3 ounces for the stated weight. Not sure exactly what size that is, but in hand it is an extremely lightweight shoe. The knit construction up top is extremely comfortable. I'm a sucker for knit uppers. I still love knit uppers. I think they feel fantastic. And this one in the forefoot, this other material here isn't as breathable. It's a lot stiffer, but in a good way, in the sense that when you're moving at those faster paces, this shoe is not going to get too floppy on you. So you're going to get a lot of locked in feel. And also they've got this extra little winglet on the side that it sticks out just a little bit further as well. So that way you have a little bit more stability if you're taking tight turns, like in a road 5K or a road 10K where you might have some switchbacks. The overall sensation for running in this shoe for me is that it really enjoys running at those faster paces. I had two marathon effort miles in this shoe yesterday in the footage that you just saw, and I just had a lot of fun running those faster paces in this shoe. There is like a pingy propulsiveness to it, or a pingy bounce to it. There's lots of different adjectives that we have to use as running shoe reviewers to kind of explain how like soft or bouncy or cushioned a material is. Pingy is kind of how I describe this one. While I do get a lot of nice comfort in terms of absorbing shock when my feet are hitting the ground, I do feel like I'm getting a lot of like instant or very quick return of that impact energy as I'm picking up my foot for the next stride. I think what they're trying to do is really minimize ground contact time with this shoe, keeping you up in the forward part of this shoe. And with that different density here, I do feel like it feels like a little bit like a shank. So I feel like I'm getting a little bit of snapback as my foot compresses the shoe as your foot's hitting it, and then it snaps back as your foot is coming through the gait cycle. So that's what I'm feeling, and it's a really pleasant feeling. Really enjoy running in that shoe. For today's run, I had the Boston 9 And this is a shoe that I would use in a lot of the same situations as the Fuelcell Rebel. It's a tempo day shoe. You've got a little bit of boost in this shoe, and then Light Strike, which is a new foam that Adidas has introduced across its running line for this year. I think that this shoe is a little bit more cushion than the Fuelcell foams in terms of like, I still feel like it's absorbing the impact when my foot's hitting the ground, but it's not snapping back quite as quickly. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think for this shoe, it really works out for me in terms of like the amount of time that my foot's hitting the ground and then getting ready for the next strike. I think that it's complementing my like gait cycle and my cadence in a very natural way. The shoe fits me really well in terms of the mesh upper, extremely breathable. I think it's probably a little bit more breathable than the Fuelcell is up top. It's a little bit more of a standard old school style of racing upper. Lots of lace loops here so you can really dial in fit on the upper. Very comfortable up top. Minimal padding and structure in the heel cup. Just enough to keep everything locked in and feeling secure, like the shoe's not gonna fall off, but stripped down enough that it still feels like you can really go fast in this shoe. Another interesting thing is, for whatever reason, the Boston 9 has been like eradicated from the Adidas website and the Adidas app. I'm not sure why. You can still find the Boston 8 and the Boston 8 with Light Strike, but you can't find the Boston 9. And I suspect it's because this particular shoe is branded not just with the BAA logo this year, but it also has Boston Marathon and 2020 written on this heel cup area. So I don't know if that's the reason why, and maybe Adidas either fears that there won't be a Boston Marathon 2020 and so they don't want to keep selling this shoe, or maybe they know something that we don't, as being there since Adidas is the title sponsor for the Boston Marathon. But I can't find this shoe on the Adidas website anymore. It's still available on other running retailers that are out there and available at a really great discount right now. I was able to find this online for $90, which is just an amazing value for a shoe of this caliber. Now, running with them head to head, I think that they're both really great for tempo day shoes. I think they both could be a really great half marathon, even up to a marathon race day option, and two different shoes that I will certainly consider for my next road marathon, whenever that may be. But here's kind of how I break the two shoes down. I think the Fuelcell Rebel is much more exciting of a shoe to run in. I mean, maybe it's the look, but it just feels like I'm running faster when I'm in this shoe. I like the feel of the Fuelcell Rebel foam. And when I'm running in it, it just feels like the shoe is cupping my foot very naturally. Just an extension of my foot when I have it on there. It just fits me really, really well. The Boston 9 is not as exciting of a shoe, and it's just a real head scratcher for me. The Boston 8 was exactly the same way. I feel like I can push farther and for a longer amount of time in this shoe for less effort. It's just a real head scratcher. Like, I'll run in the shoe, I feel like, okay, I pushed, it was fine. Running in the shoe felt okay. And then I go back and look at the splits later, and they were amazing. And I just don't know what it is about it. It's a quiet performer is what I described the Boston 8 last year. And that's definitely what we have here. It's such a sleeper shoe that even when you're wearing it, you don't realize you're wearing a fantastic shoe. It's that much of a sleeper, but it's just a fantastic shoe. Even though the footprint of this shoe is small, like not as wide as the footprint of the Fuelcell Rebel, like if you put them side to side, I do feel like there's a lot more platform on the bottom of the shoe that makes it feel a little bit more stable as I'm running. And it's not always something that you want when you're thinking about a racing shoe, but for a marathon distance or for your tempo days, I actually find it quite nice and it feels reassuring. It doesn't seem to fit quite as snugly on my foot as the Fuelcell Rebel does. So I don't know if it's just that my foot is not quite perfectly shaped for the Boston 9, but that's okay because I still feel really great when my foot is in the shoe. Also, for those of you who are looking for a tempo day shoe that you could probably also do a lot of daily training in, I'd probably reach for the Boston 9 before I'd reach for the Fuelcell Rebel in terms of it being a little bit more of a versatile shoe. This one I just think can handle a bigger variety of paces because it's got a lot of boost in the back, which is nice and comfortable and very forgiving. I think a little bit more forgiving than the Fuelcell Rebel foam is in the way that it's put in the Rebel versus the Boston 9. So I think this one's gonna get a little bit more versatility for you as well. And it's a lot cheaper at that $90 current price versus, I think the Fuelcell Rebel is discounted a little bit, but it's still coming in at about 120 bucks from what I was able to kind of see based on a preliminary and quick web search. I think that on all counts, I'm going to give the Boston 9 the edge in this head-to-head, even though the Fuelcell Rebel just feels like more exciting of a shoe to run in. I just think the Boston 9, like I'm trying not to sleep on it this time because it is such a sleeper shoe, but I do think that it is the better shoe. So those are my thoughts on the Fuelcell Rebel versus the Boston 9. Let me know in the comments if you have any more questions. I'd love to keep talking about it more down there. That's all I have for today, everybody. Thanks so much for making it all the way to the end of the video. Hope you guys are staying safe out there on your runs, and I will see you in the next one.
Yo, what's going on?